So my name is Jerry Roberts and I'm a professor of plant biology within the University of Plymouth, and my role within the university is I'm Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research and Enterprise. Open research is a relatively new term that has been into common parlance over the last few years. It's really sharing the information about your research with as wide a public as you possibly can. And it's not just sharing the publications that you've generated or the outputs or the pictures or the performing arts, whatever element that you've actually been researching on. It's sharing the data, it's sharing the way the work has been generated, and it's really important as a way forward of convincing individuals that what you're doing is exciting and that it's relevant to everybody. In terms of the benefits to the researcher, then it makes their work accessible. And it means that people, not only within their own discipline, are able to look at it, but also people from outside the university and people from around the world. So why is that important? Well, it's important because it demonstrates that the research you're doing has got some impact. It's important because it also increases your profile. It's important because it gets you to think about what you're doing and why it might link up with other people around the world. And the other thing that's particularly important is that many people who pay for that research that you're doing are able to disseminate it more broadly, and certainly if it's in the public purse, if it's been funded by research councils, then they can say, yes, the research that we paid for, that the public have actually spent money on, is available to everybody. So open research covers almost every aspect of research that you're doing. From the beginning of the process, when you start thinking about how you're going to frame the particular problem or the particular piece of work, be it art or science, be it humanities or medicine or engineering. So it starts really early on. It also then moves into how you collect the information that you're particularly interested in, how you generate the research, how you're going to use that information in a way which is going to be beneficial. So it's during the process of carrying out the research. And then finally, when the piece of work is completed, it's actually sharing that finished work, be it a paper if you're in the sciences, or it might be a piece of music, or it might be a performance, or it might be a book, sharing that with people as broadly as possible. And I think it's a fantastic opportunity of having this very open culture for researchers. Sometimes I think people think that researchers and research is really quite a mysterious aspect of what people do. It's making it much more available to everybody. So open research can actually have a lot of different forms. I've already talked about the stages when you might want to share that open research with people. But one of the things that tends to happen is that people publish work, and they publish it in a whole range of different journals, particularly in science. And those journals often require subscription, and therefore they're not available for people to actually read. There's a new concept which has now been around for a number of years, which says surely that isn't quite right, particularly if the work has been paid for by the public purse. Then surely everybody should be able to access it, not just those individuals who subscribe to the journals. And this is the concept of having something open access. And open access can be free to everybody, and that's something that's called gold open access. That's anybody can actually download the information if they've got an internet connection. Or more commonly what we call green open access, which is where that information, that material, whatever it is held within a university repository. That's somewhere where people can access it, but it's under slightly more controlled conditions. And open access is something which is now mandated by the REF, that's the Research Excellence Framework, and the next REF, which will take place in 2021, mandates researchers to release information, either gold or green open access. And from next April, that's April 2018, you will need to release that information. It needs to be open access in the public domain within 3 months of acceptance of a piece of work. Open research is a fantastic way of being able to network with people around the world, of being able to collaborate with individuals. Perhaps there was a culture some years ago of wanting to almost do research and not share it with colleagues because there was a concern that perhaps if that material was shared, in some way they would exploit it. I think that culture has now started to dissipate. We're far more willing to share what we've done. And the advantage of sharing is that different people have different ways of looking at the same data. So there are now lots of pieces of work which are based on data generated by others that have been reinterpreted in whatever way, maybe reanalyzed. And that's going to be a really exciting opportunity of doing research in the future, sharing the information you've got and just watching how other people can exploit it to the benefit of mankind. Sharing how you've done something is very important. If you want to be absolutely certain that your integrity is maintained, then you need to be willing to say, look, I'll share the information and how I've actually done that piece of research so that other people can repeat it. And there have been instances where, because people have not been able to repeat it, then it's been possible to go back to the original work and the original process and just check that everything is appropriate. On odd occasions, which are very rare, we find out that in fact things haven't been done quite in an appropriate way, that the integrity of the research isn't as rigorous as we would like it to be, and it's entirely reasonable that all the research we do is available for others just to repeat where they want to and ensure that the data you've got the maximum information from. So the final word I'd probably like to say about open research is it's the future. It's an approach by which all researchers around the world will be actually making what they've done available to everybody, and making something available to all is the best way of ensuring you get the absolute maximum out of what you've done, and also it gives you the greatest opportunities in the future, not only for yourself, but also to benefit the world.